Nobody warns you about how emotionally heavy this diagnosis can feel, but I do want you to know that it does get better. Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Alustra. I am also the founder of Positive Pathways. That is my HSV support community. If you're in need of community, you feel alone, you need advice, you need guidance, click the link in my bio and click where it says join Positive Pathways Discord. Love to see you there. Today, I want to discuss how finding out your HSV diagnosis can be a really traumatic experience, and all of the emotions that you kind of go through, you experience from the time you find out onward, and how we can kind of move forward from that. So when you find out that you have HSV, right, depending on how you're told, right, I know most people have shared their experience with the doctors not really giving them much, saying, oh, everybody has it, right, and it kind of send them on their way. You'll get your antivirals and it's kind of like, all right, goodbye. So you're having to deal with all of this on your own, right? So the unexpected nature of HSV, like, it's just happening, like, oh, wait, when and where, why, like, how did this happen to me? And then also having to deal with worrying about the negative stigma around HSV. We're all aware. We've all heard the nasty comments, the misinformation prior to having HSV. We've heard some pretty nasty things, right, about people who've had herpes. And some of us may have even partaked in saying nasty things and spreading misinformation. So we're dealing with that. And then it's the fear of being rejected and feeling lonely because you don't feel like you're desirable anymore. And then you have all these feelings of shame, guilt, anger. How could I put myself in this situation? Why did I trust this person? Why did they do this to me? I'm embarrassed. I can't date anymore. I can't hang around my friends. So we have these thoughts of isolating ourselves, right? So I kind of want to talk through all of this and make sure that you guys understand that those feelings, those concerns, the confusion, the disappointment, all of that, anger, valid, they're normal feelings, right? All of this is normal, and it's part of the healing journey, right? I went through it, a lot of other people went through it. Like, unfortunately, we have to go through this process, and it does suck. But I will say this, it will get better with time. It's not gonna happen right away, but with time it will get better. And we're gonna talk about how do we move forward? How do we get ourselves out of this funk, right? But also too, let me say this before we get started. I need you guys to understand that some people will make it seem like, oh, you just have HSV, like, whatever. No, when you first find out, it is traumatic. It's very traumatic. Because most people got it because they trusted someone, a loved one. It could be a family member because maybe you shared a drink, or maybe you were SA'd. That happens actually very frequently. A lot of people don't even consider that. A lot of people were SA'd and that's how they got it. Or you were in a relationship, marriage with someone, and this person knew and they did this to you purposely. That's traumatic. All of these things are traumatic. It's traumatic, right? And I want you to know that it's okay to sit in your pain and your sadness for a while. I did. Well, granted, you guys hear me all the time, like, I don't care about HSV. I don't care about it now. But when I first found out my diagnosis, I cared. And when I found out who gave it to me, I really cared, right? So all of your feelings are valid. I want you guys to understand that. I don't want to invalidate anyone's feelings. But I do want to talk through some things and give you guys a few ways to move forward. Because I feel like when I talk to a lot of people, they feel stuck. And I don't want you guys to feel that way. I want you guys to know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And one of the biggest things that I see in people who are recently diagnosed, or even those who've been diagnosed for 10 plus years, right? Is shame and self-worth. A lot of people, once they find out their diagnosis, they lose their spark, they lose their sense of identity. They it's almost like, and I say this, I've said this before too, by the way, it's almost like the old version of them has passed, right? And it's almost as if they're having like this out-of-body experience where it's just like they're looking down at the old version of them and they just can't seem to walk away because it hurts so bad that this person no longer exists in their mind, right? But that person does exist. They do exist. You're still you. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you're still you, right? And it takes time and a lot of effort to rebuild your confidence once learning your diagnosis. Because even your most confident person can be shaken up by finding out that they have HSV. Because now everything has changed. You're constantly worried about how people view you, right? Can they tell that I have HSV? Will they know, right? Do I look different? Do I smell different? Do I talk different? Do I walk differently? Like, you feel like you're a different person. That excitement, that joy, the laughter, a lot of people, they lose that. A lot of people sink into a really deep depression after finding their diagnosis. And it doesn't help that the medical system doesn't do a better job at comforting people once they tell them their diagnosis. Literally, is you find out, either my chart or they give you a phone call and they'll ask you, do you want some medication? Would you like the antivirals? Yes or no? Write your prescription and you're on your way, right? There's nothing. And they, also too, everybody has it, right? And granted, yeah, okay, that might be true, but it's just like, give me something more than that. That's a lie. I came in here just doing a routine test just to double check, and now I'm leaving finding out that I have HSV, and we all know how society deems those who have HSV. So, I get that. Personally, I did have a better experience. My doctor was willing to meet with me, and you know, as many times as possible, she answered all my questions. But most people don't get that. They don't have that privilege. But in order to rebuild yourself, like your confidence, it's better to start doing like affirmations, right? Like speaking kindly to yourselves, doing something that you once enjoyed prior to your diagnosis. Put it on, you know, if you're a woman, you know, getting your nails done, put on makeup, that outfit that you've always wanted to wear but you never got a chance to wear it, put it on, step out. It doesn't matter if you're going out on a date or hanging out with your friends or not. If you're going to the grocery store, put that outfit on. It starts from within, and it takes time, but you can get it back. You can get your confidence back. Another thing that I think people, and I kind of touched on this just now, but people don't consider is the grief. When you find out your diagnosis, you almost have to like grieve that person that you were prior. Like I said, like it's like an out-of-body experience. Like you're like looking at the old version and you're just lying down like lifeless, and you're like having to say goodbye, and it hurts. It tugs at your heart because you can't be free. Like being able to go out and date freely and, you know, just date whoever you want. It's not like that anymore. I don't care how many times you hear me say, you know, dating's easy for me. Yeah, dating's easy for me, but I still have to always have a conversation. Always. Right? You don't have the luxury of just dating people and just, you know, just enjoying them. No, we got to have a tough conversation. We do. And that grief can really can really hurt you. Finding out your HSV diagnosis, you'll be under a lot of emotional distress. And again, a lot of people see me today, but I too went through that, right? Where I had feelings of shame, feelings that I was going to be stuck in that relationship forever. Like when I first found out late 2022 that I was diagnosed with HSV, I cried when I knew it was what it was. I already knew I had it. I knew in my heart, because I was having an outbreak. I knew. But seeing it populate on my chart just sent me over the edge. I was like, wow. And I was crying. And I had to gather my composure because I had to call my now ex and tell him about my diagnosis. And I was scared. I was just like, what if I call this man, because he was at work, and I tell him he no longer wants to deal with me anymore. I had the same feelings that a lot of people come to me and they share like their thoughts of like, I had to tell this person I have HSV, what if they, and I was just, you know, the feelings of shame and everything. What I just really struggled with when I first found out my diagnosis, it's just not being attractive. You know, I was so used to men always trying to get my attention. I was just like, I'm no longer desirable. And again, like I said, like, you know, my ex, I loved him. I was in love with him, but there were parts of our relationship where I could tell like we may not go the mile, full mile, right? Marriage. And it hurt to know that dating would be difficult for me. I had to disclose my status, and who wants to do that, right? I was embarrassed. Like, me out of all people, me? And then, you know, I give men such a hard time. I was just like, I'm like, ha, you have herpes. And I'm just like, oh man, I can never tell a soul. Like, I gotta just stay in this relationship for life or just be single. Also too, I didn't know where I got it from. And actually, if I'm being honest, I preferred it that way. I preferred not knowing. Because when I figured out where I got it from, I've never felt betrayal or pain like that before. March 2024 destroyed me almost. Like, I remember just shaking when I read what I read, that he had herpes. And then when I found out he had it for years, it's like I couldn't, it hurt to breathe. It really did, it hurt to breathe because I couldn't understand how could someone that I was in love with, that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, build a future with, have his child, raise our daughters together, do this to me? I treated this person like a king. And to find out that when I was afraid to tell him that I had herpes, that he already knew I had herpes because he knew, he gave it to me. Which is why when I told him and we were on the call, when I first told him, he asked me, he said, "Are you sure?" Yeah, I'm sure. Because he wanted to confirm that he had actually given it to me. And he went the entire relationship pretending like he never had any outbreaks, no symptoms, he's good, he's negative, and he loves, and he loves me, he's gonna support. That actually hurt more, you all, than me finding out that I actually had just herpes. Because I was just thinking maybe, I I don't know, maybe I just messed up. I don't know how long I had it. I was more concerned with him. I didn't want to give him herpes, right? This is why I was taking my antivirals at one point every single day. That hurt the most. It was a traumatic experience to not only know that I have herpes, and you know how society looks at people with herpes, then it's going to be slightly more difficult having to disclose and everything, and I'll just always be on top of my health, you know, which honestly we should be on top of our health regardless, but you know, it's just like something extra. Like now you have a reason to be on top of your health, so now it feels like a chore versus like, oh yeah, I want to, you know, be healthy. The pain, I remember, you all, I remember it was nighttime and I was just crying, and I screamed, and I just could not stop screaming. And it's like, it makes me emotional thinking about it, because y'all, I have never felt that type of pain. Like, to know that someone that you loved and cared about would do something like that to you, and like, and I'm just thankful, y'all. Like, I'm so thankful for like where God has brought me. Like, he took me out of that, because when I tell y'all I was hurt, but I didn't also too, and so this is something that I really didn't have an opportunity to really sit in my pain too long, because then I found out I was pregnant. It was just so much with it, like it was just so much going on at one time. But I was hurt. I was traumatized. Like, a man couldn't look at me. And I know women have done this to men, so I get it, fellas. But a man could not look at me. He couldn't speak to me, because I don't want anything to do with a man. I don't want to talk about sex. I don't want to talk about dating. I don't want no one drinking after me. Nothing. Like, I don't want to, like, nothing. I was just going through it. It was, it would have been better just me just thinking I just got it from like one of my former partners. I just didn't know who gave it to me. But to like know who gave it to you, that's why I said, like, it can be extremely traumatic, depending on how you contracted it, right? It was bad when I first found out about my diagnosis, but to learn that this man did this to me and he knew. And I told y'all what he told me when we first broke up in February. We broke up February 16th, and he was just like, no man's going to stay with you knowing what you have. Y'all. And to find out he did that to me so he can continue to have access to me. But I thank God for bringing me out of that situation, because I was in a really dark space. I've never felt such strong, wicked feelings, emotions, thoughts towards a human being. Like, you know what's bad? When you pray to God to do horrible things to a person, to make them no longer exist. That's how you know it's bad, right? Like, I was so mad, you guys. I was so hurt. I was so hurt. Like, I needed therapy. And it's so crazy, because when I told him prior to me finding out, that the day before actually I found out March 17th, everything. March 16th, he was like, I told him, I said, if I find out that you're the one that gave me herpes, yeah. And he told me, he was just like, if you thought you were doing bad when you first found out that you had herpes, you're gonna need therapy when I get through with you. Almost as a threat, because he was afraid that I would discover that he was the one that gave me herpes. Because, you guys, my former partner has been doing this for years. He's never been caught. Yeah. He's never been caught. And I think he was fearful that I was going to figure it out, put two and two together, and get four. But he's right, I did need therapy, because I was traumatized. I didn't understand. Like, I knew he was a narcissist, but I still just did not understand. That's why I empathize with people when they come to me and they're just like, their world is over and they just can't understand how they're going to move forward. I get it. I get it. And I get it. I know you guys look at me and you're like, oh, you're all smiles, you're super confident. Yeah, I am today. I had to do a lot of work. I had to do so much work. And it did not happen overnight. I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive my ex. I had to pour into myself constantly. I was, you know, talking to God. I was in Bible study. I was praying. I was journaling. I was reading. Like, I was educating myself on herpes. Like, I did so much work, you all. I did so much work to get to where I'm at today. Like, I'm at a point now, like, me and my homegirl were talking. Me and my homegirl both have herpes. And I was just telling her, you know, I'm at a point now where I can actually have a full-blown conversation with my ex. If need be. Like, if we ever cross paths, like, I could talk to him and not feel it one way or another because I have moved past that. Does it make me emotional thinking, like, looking at myself almost like I'm in a snow globe and I'm like looking at myself and seeing how hurt and sad I was and how much pain I was in? It hurts. But it also makes me happy because God delivered me from that situation. So I want to help you guys get to that point, right? What can we do to move forward? How do we get from being in pain, being angry, sorry, I can't speak, being confused, feeling ashamed, being embarrassed, feeling guilt? How do we go from feeling like that to being in a space where we're confident, and we're sure about ourselves and we know our worth, right? Like, how do we get there? So let's focus on the good stuff. Let's move forward. So moving forward, what do we need to do, right? So we need to reframe our perspective. My diagnosis does not determine my value, right? My value and my worth is not attached to my diagnosis. My identity is not attached to HSV. I am more than HSV. In fact, HSV is only a small part of me. Very small part of me. I will not let others' opinions on my diagnosis change how I view myself. Let it impact how I deem how worthy I am. I'm in control, not HSV. Yes! Tell yourself that. I'm in control, not HSV. HSV does not have you in a chokehold. It does not. But just shift your perspective. You are not your diagnosis. It does not define you. Also too, I know you guys hear it all the time, but so many people have HSV. Again, over 3.7 billion have HSV1. And it's what, around 700, maybe a little bit over 700 million have HSV2. This is globally. Your co-workers, your friends, your family members, that guy or girl that you like, that you see on Tinder or Hinge or Bumble, it's a chance that they have it too. So many people are walking around with it, and more people than not are walking around with it and they don't even know. Not even that, people are living life, joyful lives, fulfilling lives, having healthy relationships and marriages and intimacy with their partners while they have HSV. That's right. People are living their lives. And guess what? That's gonna be you too. That's about to be you too. Give it time, you'll get there. But people are living their lives. They are in relationships with people who don't even have HSV. Did I tell y'all a story about how this woman reached out to me on TikTok, and she was just telling me how her and her man really enjoyed my content and it's helped a lot because she doesn't have it, he has it. And when she found out that he had it, when he disclosed to her, she didn't want that to impact their relationship. So she gave him a chance. She gave love a chance, and that's her man. My man, my man, my man, my man, my man. And I know a lot of you guys are concerned with, well, I don't want to, you know, transmit it to anyone. There have been plenty of people that I've talked to who have partners that don't have it, and they're doing it raw dogging it, and their partner has not gotten HSV. And they get tested regularly, because if you don't have, your partner doesn't have HSV, side note, so if your partner doesn't have HSV, you should definitely be getting tested regularly, just to make sure, right? Just to, you know, be aware of things. But I've heard so many stories. I talked to so many different people who their partner doesn't have it, and they're doing the nasty, like real nasty, you know, like, so it's possible. I want y'all to tell yourself that. Also too, guys, there's so many people in the community, HSV community, who are amazing. They're attractive, they have a lot going on for themselves. They're just good people, great personalities, you know what I mean? High emotional intelligence. Like, you're gonna find your person. They don't always have to be outside of the community. They might be in the community, right? But we want to, again, shift our mindset, shift how we think about ourselves now that we have HSV. Also too, it's really, really important that we educate ourselves on what HSV is, how people contract it, how it's transmitted, how can you boost your immune system, how can you prohibit viral replication within your body, you know what I mean? How can we manage our outbreaks so that we're more comfortable, we're more confident, we're not walking around always self-conscious, right? You learn your triggers, because your triggers might not be the same as my trigger, right? I don't have any food triggers. I have stress. Stress was my trigger, right? So educate yourself on HSV. The more you know about HSV, right, the better you'll feel. Because I'll tell you this, the more I educated myself on HSV, the less I was just like, oh my gosh. I was just like, okay, yeah, sure. It's a skin condition. You know what I mean? Like ringworm. A little worse than ringworm, but nonetheless, ringworm, right? So like, that's how, you know what I mean? Once I educated myself, I was like, okay, I can breathe. I can do this. I can manage this. I'm in control. And now, because at first, when I first found out my diagnosis, I felt like I lost control, right? But when I educated myself and I did my own research, I felt like I had more control of the situation, so I was a lot more confident. I was more sure of myself, right? So that's a huge one. Also, joining a community. You have positive pathways. You have other communities, right? But joining communities where you have people who are also living with HSV and other, like, also people who are struggling, right? So that you have people that you can talk to. It's so important to be able to get this off your chest, right? To just be able to unload sometimes, because you guys know how it is. You find out your diagnosis and you want to keep it to yourself because you don't want to be judged. Rightfully so. But after a while, it wears you down emotionally and mentally. And that's when depression starts to sneak in, and anxiety. So if you can have a community where it's a safe space for you to talk freely, ask questions, learn how to disclose, learn how to manage your outbreaks, learn about eradication, learn how to, you know, navigate dating and being intimate with someone, learn how to rebuild your confidence based off what other people are doing, and just to feel normal. You are normal, but oftentimes, again, when we get diagnosed, we don't feel normal again. We feel like we're cuties. You know what I mean? You know, like, you feel normal and be able to laugh and joke around and make plans and make friends. And also too, it's really good to rebuild your confidence. I'm really big on affirmations, and I'm also big on mirror work, meaning getting in front of a mirror and nothing on, just you, and you just look at yourself, and instead of critiquing every little bit about yourself, give yourself compliments. Love on yourself. Take yourself on a nice date. You know, if there was a hobby that you were interested, do it, right? Start looking into it and do it. If you want to travel more, book that flight. Book it, right? But we want to make sure that we're complimenting ourselves, right? We want to make sure that we're constantly uplifting ourselves. Whenever we have a negative thought, well, we need to now say a positive thought, okay? We have to remove negative thoughts. Because I think I've said this before, I'm almost positive. People are always saying, I want to manifest we do manifest on a daily basis. We're manifesting our negative thoughts. You don't need to do that anymore. HSV, again, it's a traumatic experience. It's nothing that any of us want, right? I don't even want it. But you're still handsome. You're still beautiful. You're still him. You're still her. You're still amazing. You are desirable. You're valuable. And anyone would be lucky to have you in their lives in any capacity, whether that's just being a friend or a romantic partner. But you're amazing. You're amazing. You're great. Like, remember that. Also, too, another thing that I feel like people have a tendency to overlook while they're trying to heal, right, is keeping around negative people who aren't really supportive. And maybe they don't know that you have it, but like, you're just talking to your guys or talking to your girls, and y'all just rapping, y'all see something on social media, and then they're talking about HSV, right? Something's going on. It's always going on with HSV in the social media, right? Always something going viral. And they have like negative comments. Take that time to educate them. But if after you educate them, they still have these negative comments and they're still being nasty and spreading misinformation, distance yourself a little bit. You don't need to be around that right now. Also too, like if you're on social media and you're reading nasty comments, get disengaged from social media for a while. Really gotta take time to take care of your mental. Again, I know a lot of people always hit me up and they're like, I want to heal my body, I want to heal my body, I want to heal my body. What's the cure? What's the cure? What's the cure? Yeah, I get that. Cool, great. That's fine. But we also have to heal our mental, because even if I said, hey, I have a magic pill for you to take and HSV is gone, you are still traumatized. And you're going to carry that with you, right? And we don't want to do that. Also, to getting a really good therapist. A therapist. Consider getting a therapist. There's a lot of great resources out there for, therapists. I know a lot of insurance companies, they do pay for therapists, at least for the majority of the session. You might have a little copay. But there's also some, there's BetterHelp, and there's Black Girl Therapy or something like that. I'll put the title in the description. I'm sorry, guys. For like resources for therapy that doesn't necessarily cost an arm and a leg, right? Another thing, journaling. Journaling helps a lot. Just writing down your thoughts and writing a letter to yourself. And just how you feel, and then who do you want to become, and then also writing a letter to the gifter. If you know who the person is, writing a letter to them saying everything that you want to say, read it aloud, and then burn it, trash it, just get rid of it, right? But release that energy and give it back to them. But these are things that you guys can do in order to start the healing process. I go out a little bit more in depth in my Break the Stigma, the HSV Emotional Healing Workbook. And as well as with that workbook, you do get a free 20 minutes with me, so we can talk, and we can talk about your specific situation, and we just build a game plan from there. But yeah, you guys are not alone. We're gonna get through this together. Oh, and by the way, guys, I told you that we were gonna talk about hydrogen peroxide. I just got it today. I need to open it and read the directions so then we can do that tomorrow.